This is the reason why people view pop as unsophisticated and not as superior as other genres of music. All right, welcome to the I still can't get it.
Soup kitchen.
Welcome to the Prolific Super Producer Podcast. I am Tyson. This is Nathan. And we are going to be talking about how to write songs so good that they can't help but going viral today. But before we dive into that, even if you have great sounding songs, you also need to make sure that they are mixed and mastered well professionally to actually be able to go as far as they possibly can in the industry. So people aren't just turned off when they turn on the song on Spotify and they will skip it less. If you want to learn how to mix your songs like a professional, learn all of the fundamental techniques that you need and the mindset that you need to be able to mix your songs at a pro level, then I have a free course for you just for watching or listening to this episode. And you can go get that at the promixformula.com. That is promixformula.com. And you can go pick up that free course. There's, I think, 12 or so videos just walking you through the mix process, ultimately teaching you the true mindset shifts that you need to make to mix at a pro level. Let's dive into the episode of how to write songs so good that they can't help but going viral. This was inspired by a comment actually that somebody left on one of my YouTube videos where I was doing a mix review and I had just mentioned something about pop songs and, some technique that pop songs use to make their songs, more popular. This is the comment that I was left. Pop songs are not art. I guess sheep don't get that. Some music is made for more emotionally developed people.
Oh, shots fired.
So I love this quote because I think it is representative of a lot of people's opinions about pop music. So I wanted to break this down because I have a contrarian view to this statement, and that is that everybody is trying to write a pop song. That is my ultimate crux of my argument, is that everybody wants to write a pop song. Let's break it down though, and so I'm going to explain why everybody wants to write a pop song. The first thing is we have to look at the history of pop. Where did pop originally come from? Pop came from the word popular. That's it. That's all that pop means. And so you could have a pop song that is any genre, potentially, as long as it is mainstream popular. And ultimately, I would say most bands, most artists are trying to reach that level of success. They want mainstream popular music. And ultimately, then they want to write a pop song. You can't say, I want success, but I don't want to write a pop song. It's mutually exclusive if you want to put it that way. Anything to add there, Nathan?
No, I love that. This is such I feel like this is just a slept on fact, especially from some people who get a little too hardcore maybe and are like, no, I don't want to pop music, whatever. Like that can be the perception that you have. That was definitely the perception I had until like learning about this, that pop music is just popular music. It's contemporary music. It's music that's easily digestible by a lot of people. And so like, who wouldn't want to write that? Are you kidding me? Like if you're an artist and you're making your own songs, do you want it to resonate with a lot of people? You know what I mean? Like if you actually want to do this, you're trying to do this like as a career and make some money from this, why wouldn't you want it to? And then even on the level of impact, okay, putting all the money in and anything like that to the side, like just impact, man, what if you got an awesome song and it's awesome? Like, don't you want it to be hit by the most or get hit by the most people and have the most people react? Yeah, so I just love that. Actually, I think everyone's trying to write a pop song because pop, aka popular. Yes, it's huge.
On the other side, there is a place for, as he put it, more emotionally developed people, unquote. Because like there is a level of some people want to listen to music to feel like they are superior to others. Mm-hmm. And ultimately that is the music that he's talking about, I'm pretty sure. If you think about it, jazz in today's world and culture is not very approachable for the most part. Most people don't, hop in their car, throw on, some jazz. Like that's just not a thing. But some people love to do that because it makes them feel sophisticated. And it makes them feel important and like they're superior and they have finer tastes than everybody else.
Yes.
It's like those really snobby wine people, right? They're like, you can't enjoy this wine. Or like another example is the whiskey drinkers. That's another like very similar group of people. But ultimately they like are so niche though that it's not really appealing to a broad audience. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like that there is a place for that music for sure. If you want, monetary success, especially in music, it's maybe not the best route. Maybe you do actually want to write a pop song. Another thing that I want to add in here is that most pop songs don't actually need to be the genre pop. They can be any genre,
Huge.
right? You can write a metal song that is also a pop song, because ultimately when we boil down what a pop song truly is it's or a song rather, right? It's a melody that is put to usually a chord structure that underlines and emphasizes that melody. The melody is really king in all pop.
Yes.
In all songs, really, right? Because that's what everybody wants to latch onto.
Yes.
And so regardless of what your genre is, like that is what a song is. With that in mind, the interesting part that we can kind of draw out of this, and the interesting example that I wanted to bring up was the Pop Goes Punk albums. So for a long time, if you're not familiar with it, there was an album that came out every single year. They got popular punk bands to cover pop songs from that year or the prior year. And then they would release the album, and it was, always just a punk rock version of all these pop songs. But if you just listen to the song, sometimes like I would actually hear a song and be like, oh man, this is a sick song. And then I would like find out that it's actually a cover of a pop song, but I had no idea that it was a pop song. I thought it was a punk song that just happened to be really catchy.
Yeah, right.
So at the end of the day, the whole pop genre is actually non-existent. It's just you have to use other genres of music, and then you write a pop song though that just happens to have a broad audience appeal.
I think too, like in this, I'm just looking at this comment that you got. It just looks like for this individual, there's no way that pop songs can exist. There's no way that pop songs can be emotionally deep. Like pop songs don't go deep. That's what I hear from this. Like, and I guess deep is kind of subjective. Like, what do you mean by that? Because people can get moved and resonate with different things. But like, I still think again, pop songs are not art. Some music's made for more emotionally developed people. I think like some pop songs out there go deep. I think you could, again, like I just don't know why those are mutually exclusive. Like why those two worlds can't collide, So if that's what's holding you back, like if you think you're limited by your genre, like, oh no, my music, I can't use pop. It's never going to be popular. I still think there's some things you can learn from pop music. Like, don't be so closed off. Like this, like kind of what Tyson was talking about, like melody structure, hook structure. And I think the big thing to take away is there's a tried and true song structure that's around, and it's around for a reason. Like if you've heard the basic, right? Intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. Like there's whatever. There's different renditions of that. But that is a tried and true song structure that works. And popular music usually is following some sort of structure like that. So even if you think my music's never going to be popular, it's such a niche, it's such a whatever. Okay, cool. That doesn't mean there's not stuff to be learned. That doesn't mean there's not stuff to be gained. And if you are a little more of a artsy artist and you are making music that is very deep and it's like you got a single coming out a year, because it's like you have a lot of thought, respect, awesome. But I don't think that means you should close your mind off to trying to write popular music or trying to at least learn from what's going on, because it's proven. That's what I like about pop music is it's proven. Like it's proven to resonate with a lot of people. I don't know. I just think there's something to be said there. I used to be like that, and some music that I was making was like, no, I don't want to listen to the stuff that's on the radio. I don't listen to the top 10 because that's not me. That's not real music. That stuff's plastic. That stuff's fake. Like I've been this person, But like being on the other side, okay, there's actually like, I have a little bit of humility and listen to some of the stuff, even if it does sound plastic, but like learn from what's going on. You know what I mean? So I think that's another conversation too.
I mean, because I've been that same person, right? I've been this person. And so like, I know exactly where they're coming from, especially as musicians, right? Because we want to feel important and like we have better taste than everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's like, good music is still good music. There's like underlying principles of why we actually like certain music and certain like rhythms, like polyrhythms, right? That's kind of like a catchphrase. Like, why are polyrhythms so catchy? There's actual scientific evidence that points towards the fact that our brain likes that stuff. Our brain recognizes patterns, and when those patterns are interrupted in a good way, we like it. Dopamine is released, therefore we like the song. You physically can't not like some songs. That's why.
That's right.
And there's actually I think there's a guy on Instagram that I follow. I think it's called Hit Songwriting Techniques or something like that. Is his profile name? I can't remember. It'll be in the show notes. But he is breaking down all these like pop rhythms melody lines, and then he's kind of formulated that down into this like set of principles that he uses to write songs. And it's one of the best resources that I have ever found, honestly, in writing good, catchy melodies, because I struggle a lot with melodies, and so having it broken down and kind of like in a more analyzable format was really helpful for me. So if you're interested in that, I would just check the notes down below or the description if you're looking on YouTube, and go look him up, because he's a solid guy and definitely has some really good tips if you struggle with writing great melodies. With that, let's move on to the more practical tips. So I guess that's your first practical tip for you. But moving on to outline that for you. So we've kind of set the stage of what is pop. Pop is popular music. Everybody's trying to write a pop song because we all want to have mainstream success with our music. Or rather, that's the assumption that we're moving forward with, right? Yeah. So if that is your goal, if your goal is to have mainstream, broad market appeal, and you want to, make a living with your music, then you should probably follow these techniques. If that's your goal, then here are the tips. There was this guy, and I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Jerry. It's like Ullman or something. Ullman?
Whoa.
Something like that. He's a professor, and he was teaching a class on photography at his university. And so he separated his class into two groups, and he had one class that first half of the class, he had the requirement for the semester was to make one photo. That's it. They had to do one photo, but it would need to be almost perfect in order to get an A for the class. The other group of people had to take many photos, and they didn't have to be very good. They just had to take a lot of them. And throughout the semester, he analyzed all of their photos, right? And at the end of the semester, the group that had taken the larger group of photos, the quantity over quality, the quantity actually had higher quality as well, because they were able to iterate on their skills. And so translating this over to music, if you spend 100 hours on one song trying to make it perfect versus writing 100 songs in 1 hour, so writing 100 songs versus writing one song, same amount of time, do you think that you'll have a better song out of the 100 or the one song that you spent 100 hours on?
I know, for my opinion, it's obviously the volume. It's somewhere in the 100. Like, no way.
Yeah, and like that's what essentially the research shows, right? Is that when we iterate skills, we get better. And so by the sake of doing 100 songs, you're going to have produced better songs, period. Like, that's just the way it is, because your skill will have increased. And, even if you spend so much time on one song, like even if my skill is right here, if I'm getting 100% of that capacity to write a great song, like it's still only here, versus if I write 100 songs and bring up my capacity to here, then all of a sudden, even if I'm only like 75% of the way there, it's still higher than the person who's not very skilled at it. So that's kind of the underlying principle here.
I love that, because the reality is you're only as good as you are right now. Like, you are only as good as you are right now. So if you're maxing out, like you said, that bandwidth of your skill level, there's one track, and like it's hard to learn and grow from making one song versus 100 songs. I think that's the reality. From one song even versus 10 songs, like, because you're getting the practice in, you're getting the reps in. It'd be like, I don't know, to like equate it to a workout maybe, which this might like stretch a little bit, but like if you're doing one workout really, really, really well, perfect technique, flawless, like the proper loading, all the proper rest periods, and you're trying to maximize this one workout, you're not going to get the same results from that workout as you would have as if you just hit the gym 100 times. You know what I mean? Like, over the course of whatever, like one workout versus 100 workouts, you're going to see the benefit from the volume. And it's like similar to your skills, because really I think it's a muscle. I think a lot of the songwriting creation stuff, it's no different. It's a skill that you can perfect. It's a skill that you can get better at. And so if it's something you can get better at, it requires you to keep showing up, right? More than just one time. And so I love that study, because I just think we need to hear that, because I think so many of us can like, oh no, it's this, like we stay in our little one song world or one EP world, and it's like we don't move on until we've fleshed all this out and it's perfect or whatever that even means, right? Again, it's like quality is subjective. What do you mean perfect, So I love that study, and I think that's perfect for how to write a hit, because you're probably not going to do it in just one sit down, and you're putting all this pressure on one sit down, Give yourself options. Give yourself more at-bats. Yeah.
And I would add on to that, because I think a lot of artists, and if this is you, if you feel like you always are producing one song, right, until it's done, and then you continue on to the next one, like there is some value in that.
Yeah.
But I would argue that you're actually wasting a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of potentially money if you're spending money to get these produced, because you only want to produce your best possible material because you don't have to pay for all of your other material that doesn't do anything for you. And that gets into a whole nother conversation, so we'll save that for later. But I did want to mention that, though, if it's not a very good song, it's not worth spending time or energy or money on finishing that song at the end of the day. All right, so do you want to dive into the arrangement?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, here we go. Pop songs 101. 50,000 foot view. Here's some practical things you can implement if you are trying to write pop songs. Remember, for the purposes of this episode, we're talking about popular songs, widely received. What are these kind of songs doing? And then I also want to touch on, we'll both touch on the streaming era, because that's kind of disrupted everything, but I think a lot of these principles still hold true. So pop songs, well, what do they do with their choruses? They repeat them a whole freaking lot. They repeat their choruses and they hold on to their choruses because the chorus is king. We've already talked about this in multiple episodes, but pop songs, pop structure, they know this. You know what I mean? The chorus is usually the part that you're going to remember. The chorus of any song is usually the melody that you can capture and that you're trying to figure out, or you're trying to tell your friend, hey, what was that one song we heard when we were out with so-and-so? And it was like da 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 da. You're trying to explain it. It's that melody. Pop structure knows this and it's capitalizing on it. So if you have a chorus that's very catchy, why would you just do it a couple times? They're probably going to milk it as much as possible because it's the catchy part of the song, right? It's the part of the song typically that gets our interest going. So that's a big thing there. Don't be shy if you're trying to write a pop song, right, in the popular landscape. Don't be shy about your chorus. Use that thing. Use it once, twice, more. It's most of the time, it's at least 3 times. 3 times minimum. And in line of the chorus, there's this saying that I've heard in so many sessions, it's ridiculous. It's don't bore us, get us to the chorus. And I think it's a super helpful line is don't be dragging out, especially if you've got a verse that you feel is a little, I think we've talked about this before, but this is a super practical tip. You wrote your song, you feel like you got a really strong chorus, but you don't really feel like you have a strong verse. It would be a strategic move maybe to open with the chorus in some stripped down fashion or whatever to get people interested, to get them to the verse, to get them back to the chorus. So don't bore us, get us to the chorus is hey, in line with if you've got a strong chorus, use that thing, get to it quickly. And in fact, a lot of hit songs, get to the chorus within 30 seconds. They get to it within 30 seconds. Think about someone like Max Martin, you know what I mean? If you get to the chorus within 30 seconds, that means the verse or the intro, whatever's setting up and opening the song, it's pretty quick, it's pretty quick and you're getting to the chorus. Again, I think that's probably the biggest tip I could talk about with structure, and then Tyson, we can move to streaming. But I think if you've got a chorus, use the chorus, spend your time on the chorus. And then you kind of got to grade your verses and choruses after you've written the song, and you kind of got to get your ego out of it for the sake of popular songs. Got to preface that again. Do your thing with your artsy stuff. I love it. Yes, those deep album tracks, just 5-minute verses. Go for it, whatever. But for the sake of a popular song, yeah, you kind of got to be all right, this verse it's okay, but the chorus is really killer, and we're going to use the chorus a lot. How can we get to the chorus quickly? How can we keep the listener engaged? How can we really, show the listener kind of what you're thinking, show the listener the payoff, they're listening to this song for a reason, Yeah. So what do you think? Anything there, Tyson? I feel like that was a little bit of a lot.
I would just add one thing is that people like hearing lyrics, and people naturally are inclined to listen to human voices. That's just a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so if you aren't sure how to start your song and you just slap on an instrumental intro, it's 4 bars or whatever, and you're it's all right.
Yeah.
Don't start with it.
Yeah.
Just start with the lyrics. Just dive straight into the verse, dive straight into the chorus, whatever that is. Lyrics attract people and they get people's attention right away. There was an album. It was, I can't remember if it was their first album or second album. Anyway, the band Emery, if you know the band Emery, they're a 2000s alternative like emo band.
Would I know any songs? Did they have like anything circulating or anything?
No, not really.
Okay.
They actually have a song called "Don't Bore Us, Get to the Chorus."
I'm gonna go look them up after this.
They were trying to release one of their albums, EPs, and they didn't know how, like, what song to start with. They were going to start with this other song, and their producer's like, yeah, it's just not that strong, right? You don't want to start your album off with a not strong song.
Yeah.
And so then they chose this like other track to be the beginning, and the whole album starts out with them like screaming like that's the only thing. There's no instruments. It's just like them screaming like one line. I don't even remember what it is. But
amazing.
Like it's and it became so iconic for that band. Like that band is not huge, but they have a pretty loyal following.
Yeah.
Because they started their debut album like that. I'm pretty sure it was their debut album. Became a thing for the band. Like everybody who knew that band knew that specific line. And like that was kind of like their calling card almost, like their thing that everybody knew about that band. Even though they never did it again, pushed them into success because they were bold and they started with just singing or screaming in this case.
You know, starting the song, like when you're battling your verse and your chorus and you're trying to be objective. Like to Tyson's point, if you do have a strong verse or you have a verse that has a really killer opening line that like automatically is like it's like story driven, you're like right into it and it's setting a scene. It can almost be as powerful as a chorus. I still am gonna think that like a chorus is still king. You know, like a verse never really takes the throne. You know, it's always kind of like right here. But a killer opening line could also be a strategic move too. Like I love that. That was a really good tip. Like don't just start with a 4-bar little intro interlude thingy, you know, like just get to the chorus then. Why? So then honestly you can get to get to the verse, sorry. Start with the verse with a killer opening line so then you can get to the chorus even quicker too. Like just don't waste time. In the pop world, you're not wasting time. It's real tight. Things are written really punchy. Things are really intentional. There's just not a lot of wasted space.
That being said, moving on to the streaming tips here. So if you want your song to get more streams, then these are some additional things that you should be aware of when you're writing your song to make sure you're optimizing for streaming. Anyway, there's a common philosophy that is pervasive in the music industry that I want to just completely dismantle. You need a short song. This is a lie. You do not need short songs. What you need is a good song. And I can prove this. Let's back up. Songs are just content, right? It's just content that people are entertained by. That's ultimately what we're doing. Whether it's in the car, whether it's just like while they're doing chores, like they want to be entertained, so they listen to music. That's ultimately what we're trying to provide as musicians and artists. There's a lot of other forms of media and entertainment that they could consume. They could go on TikTok. They could go on Instagram. They could go on YouTube. They could go on Netflix. What are the differences between all those platforms? Okay, TikTok has 15-second videos. Like that's what they're known for, right? Instagram has up to like 30, 45-second videos. YouTube has anywhere from like 2 minutes to 3 hours or 4 hours or more, right? Long form content. And then Netflix, right, is the ultimate. It's like you have 9 seasons of, whatever show that you could potentially watch for the next 36 hours straight. There's somebody doing each of those things. There's somebody binging a 36-hour season of something on Netflix right now. Why do they do that? It's because everybody's like thinking, oh, we need short form content. We need everything to be like, short, punchy, and just like that. That's it. It needs to be short.
Yeah.
Because people's attention spans aren't that long. And I would argue that is a lie. People will consume content that is good. If it is good, if it's engaging, if it's compelling, they're willing to sit through a 4-hour episode of something or 4-hour movie. Right?
It's true.
What was like the Avatar movie was like 3.5 hours.
Oh my
like,
goodness, yeah.
So many people sat through that and watched the entire thing. I watched it.
Yeah.
It was right. That it doesn't matter how short or long your song is, as long as it is good and it's compelling. So I just want to establish that as a fact before moving on. But my next point is seemingly contradictory, but you need to get to the hook faster.
Yes.
Songs can have multiple hooks or it can have one hook, but ultimately you need a hook, something that is just so catchy that they have to listen, right? That is the point of a hook. If you just think about a fish, like when you're fishing, you have a hook on the bottom of your fishing pole, on the bottom of your line that has some bait on it, and then people grab it and then you can drag them up. That's like, you hook people in to your song and then they're just like pulled along for the ride the rest of the way of your song, as long as you don't slack.
This is how to fish. Yeah.
But as as Nathan mentioned earlier, right, getting to the hook faster and then also making sure you get to the chorus within 30 seconds. There is a lot of research that goes into what is a hit song, and almost every single hit song reaches the chorus within 30 seconds of starting the song. So just make sure you're getting there fast, or if not even just starting with the chorus, because that's 100%. The easiest way to just hook people in right away, as long as your chorus is hooky.
I mean, killer. Yeah, compelling. 100%. Yeah, powerful. Yeah, totally. And like with a hook, right? Like a hook doesn't have to be. I used to think it was just like a vocal, it's what the singer's doing. Like it's up to the singer, the hook, the chorus, the catchy part, you know? But like it just doesn't have to be a vocal at all. It can absolutely be instrumentation. And like I think a good example of that is the smash that was out, you know, it was a little while ago now, but it was the Chainsmokers and Halsey, you know, they did a song called Closer. What's the hook? If you listen to that, that's not the vocal. It's that synth that's going down, 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 down. You know, it's that synth, and it's like, oh, that's so catchy, and that's usually the part that you hum. That's the part that you remember. So in that song, it's just an example of, yeah, I mean, some of the vocals are cool for sure, but like really, what was the thing that you remember? What's the thing that like you know the song? If you hear that, it's that instrumentation. So that's another thing too. It doesn't have to be a vocal, you know, for a hook.
100%. Another good like kind of litmus test for your song is if you play it for somebody who's never heard your song before, and then they can repeat a part of the melody back to you at the end of the song, that is your hook. So that's a good way of knowing, first of all, do you have a hook? And then also, is your hook compelling enough that people will actually latch onto it, remember it, and even after one listen, they can repeat it back to you.
Yeah.
Also, that tests of how many times did you repeat your hook? Because even if you have a killer hook, but you only do it once, then they probably won't remember it. Yeah. And so make sure that whatever your hook is, whether that's the chorus or an instrumental like the Closer, then make sure that you repeat that throughout the song. If you listen to the song Closer, that hook is repeated multiple times, probably 6 or 7 times throughout the entire song, because they knew that was the thing hooking people in. That's like the big payoff that everybody's like gonna be jumping up and down in the crowd, right? Like that is the thing.
Yes.
So they made sure that they optimized that as much as possible.
And I think that a big thing that would stop me too in this area, especially if you are trying to craft a hook, you know, vocally made, like this, the vocals, the chorus, or whatever. It took me a little bit to learn this. Is melody is stickier than lyrics. You know, you just think about that for a second. So am I saying that you shouldn't really put a lot of thought into the lyrics as much as the melody? Maybe if you're trying to really steer in this like direction. I'm not saying don't think about your lyrics, like don't mishear me. But in this battle between lyrics and melody kind of takes first place because it's the thing that people remember. Or maybe some people will remember a word from the chorus. But if, again, going to that example that I was saying, how many times have you tried to remember a song or explaining it to somebody, or someone's explaining a song to you and they're like, hey, what's that song that was like, it was like this, and then I saw your face, but then it was like, ah, nah, nah. You know, it's like maybe there's some words in there that you can remember, but like it's the melody. The melody is the part that you're going to remember. So whether that's an instrument, like in Closer, or whether that's your vocal, I would encourage you, if you're trying to really lean into this pop structure, like they prioritize the melody over the lyrics. As maybe as unartsy as that might sound, that's kind of just the way it is. The melody's prioritized over the lyrics.
This is the reason why people view pop as unsophisticated and not as superior as other genres of music. Because other genres of music, I think, tend to emphasize the lyrical content over the melodic content. Like in and of itself, like they usually genres are centered around some sort of culture, and they need to re-emphasize that culture through the lyrical content, which I think is awesome. Like obviously lyrics are important, but it's also the reason why you end up with a lot of pop songs with terrible lyrics. Like there's some really shallow pop songs out there because you don't need deep lyrics to actually have a pop song. And I think that's why everybody's kind of turned off of pop. But at the same time, if you really break it down of like, okay, why is this pop song so popular? Then you can take lessons from that into your own music. That doesn't mean you need to write shallow lyrics. It means that you want to take the melodic structure and the things that they do to be able to make your song better. Recognizing like what creates those feelings of dopamine essentially in people's brains when they listen to your song.
Or I was going to say really quick, like I've literally been, just to say how, to that comments point that we opened this episode with, like I've absolutely been in sessions where just witnessing this firsthand, where the melody comes first and the lyrics come second, or maybe even fifth or something like that, where the melody is there and it's just, okay, what are the words that kind of like match the gibberish? What can we fit in? Okay, pencil, cool, just put that in there. Coin, hat. Okay, sweet. Coin, yeah, great. It just works because they really care about the melody more. I'm not all the way over there. Like I'm going to prioritize the melody, but it just might take a little extra work because this is a tricky part. And this is what I've talked with people a lot about is, hey, I came up with a melody, but then I wrote lyrics and now the melody changed. Like something happened. Like when I've tried to write, I have lyrics that I wrote and now I'm trying to plug it into the melody. It doesn't sound like the melody that was cool to me from the beginning. And that's like the art form of it, is it can be hard. It can be hard when you have a melody that's sick, and it's hard because you want to preserve the melody, which means you have to pay attention to the phonetics, to the tonality, to the timing and delivery. And you're trying to find words that you can sing that can replicate that. And so in a way, you're kind of limited. Not just any word is going to work, because if you just throw any word in there, it can take away from the melody. If you sang some gibberish that you love, and it's like 2 syllables, you can't throw an 8-syllable word in there or whatever. It's not going to work. It's going to change it. Maybe that's a deeper conversation for another day. But yeah, don't hear that and think, oh, now I just don't like skip over the lyrics. No, you can still write meaningful lyrics. But like if you're trying to preserve the melody, just be ready for a little bit more brain work to try to say what you want to say deeply that still matches the melody. It's a different way of writing. So it could be worth a try if you've not done it before. It's a good exercise.
The last thing that we wanted to communicate with this episode was making sure that you are being more objective. Take some time away, make sure that the song is actually good before you really pursue it and spend a lot of money on it, promoting it, all that stuff. The last thing I want you to do is write a song that's kind of so-so, spend thousands of dollars on promotion and marketing, and then it goes nowhere. And then you just basically let $2,000 on fire or whatever, how much you spent. Yeah. And so like that is the last thing I want you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to write amazing songs that are capable of being pop songs that then go really far because you've spent the time necessary refining it to be at that level where when you do spend money to market it, then it just kind of blows up like wildfire because you have written a song so good that it can't help but going viral, right? That's the whole point of this episode.
Yes. In light of that, if you're like, okay, cool, how do I implement some of this stuff? You're looking for a really tactical way to do this, and maybe this whole music thing's a little new to you, or you've been doing it for a little bit and your workflow feels a little stale. I put together just a free guide. It's like 10 pages. It's a PDF. You could like print it out, put it on your desk, or just look at it on your phone or something. You can go to finishsongsguide.com, and that's just a free PDF I got for you. It's the new workflow that I had to come up with for myself because I was a double whammy. So I was not finishing songs and I felt stale. So it's like I had both of these things going on. I was like, what the heck? This is killing me. I know I've got music in here that I want to get out and I just can't get it out. And so I took some time and came up with a workflow that really helped me. It's been helping other people. So if that resonates with any of you, if you think it'd be a good fit, go ahead and check it out. It's free, no strings attached. finishsongsguide.com. And it's just going to walk you through a 5-step process that you can kind of practice some of the stuff. Hey, when you get to the part where you write melodies, okay, maybe think about some of this. And when you get to the part where you're writing lyrics for the melodies, right, you can practice some of this. It's just a good kind of step-by-step process to help you not overthink things and to just reach the finish line with your songs. And kind of like we were talking about with that photography class example, right? What matters more? Spending time on just one song and like pouring everything into it when you could have already made like 10 or 20. It's going to be the volume, especially if you're new to this and you're trying to practice and refine your skills. So I think this guide will help you. I think it's a good companion to this episode. So feel free to check that out if you think it would be a benefit for you. Also, we'd love it if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick second, leave us a review, just what you think of this so far. It's really helpful for us too, just getting like feedback. Totally tell us what you think of the episode, but if you could go a step further and just what would you like to hear? Is there something that we talked about in this episode that like sparked a thought in your head that we could flesh out further for you? Is there anything we could clarify? Is there something we haven't covered yet that would be really helpful for you? Just let us know. We'll read everything and we'll absolutely take action on all that because really like, hey, the fact of the matter is we're fellow musicians too. We're fellow artists, fellow songmakers, just like you, just out here trying to create music to the best of our ability and then hopefully letting it find an audience and let it find people and resonate with other people as well. With that being said, thank you all so much. We will talk here very, very soon.